I've been writing fiction with the goal of being traditionally published for over 700 days now. Ever since I was a kid, I was interested in storytelling, getting obsessed with single-player games, movies, TV shows, anything. A few of my favorites were always Doctor Who, Star Wars, Red Dead Redemption, Final Fantasy, Game of Thrones, kind of anything. I started my first real book in high school, being encouraged by a mentor figure we'll call Sensei. I only wrote like 2 chapters though, and it kind of just faded off into nothing. If you're interested, here's the planning doc I made for it. Didn't really have any idea what I was doing, so it was kind of just random. But I ended up giving up on it, not for lack of enjoyment, but out of just pure laziness. I thought the old too hard must not be for me. It wasn't until year 1 of community college where I actually wanted to blow my brains out, when everything changed. Not really though. My brother and his roommate came up with a magic system / combat system for an anime they wanted to create, but in their own words, when I asked them what was their game plan for that, they said, "I'm not doing that, that's too hard, but maybe we'll sell the idea or something." So in my head, I was like, it sucks, what a waste. But from there, with their blessing, I asked to work on a screenplay using their combat system. Sat down, I was like, dude, this is gonna be sick. And as I started writing, I realized I wasn't actually writing a screenplay, and I had no idea how to write a screenplay, but I wrote a chapter 1. I guess in my head, it's just a default since I had some idea how to do that. Either way, I'm really glad I did. Doing school remotely and not really doing much during the day, I loved it. Following Brandon Sanderson's advice, I wrote 2,000 words per day. I would blow off my schoolwork and just start writing. In a few weeks, book 1 was complete at a little over 50,000 words. It was pretty surreal to see anything I created actually be created, since usually I'm the start something, like it for a day, and never finish it type. Obviously now looking back at it, basically in my head a book is never really done, but still, I'll never forget that first hit of that drug or satisfaction of saying, oh, the book is done. You could stop to read some of this if you want, but it's a bit of a disaster. Not only is it my first work, but also it's never been edited. I actually didn't learn that I had to edit books until like my 5th, so that's a bit rough. But after that, I just wanted more. And the more I looked into the prospect of being an author, the more I felt like it was something I was supposed to be doing. It just felt perfect. I queried the book with grandiose thoughts of becoming Sanderson at the ripe old age of 18. And in my head, I'd made my magnum opus. The best thing, my life's work. Nothing will ever equate to that first book. And I knew deep down I wasn't actually likely to land me an agent, but still, it weirdly crushed me that after around 100 queries, getting nothing but form rejections, which, if you don't know, form rejections are basically automated responses telling you to politely fuck off. Anyway, now I'm editing my 6th book, after querying each one and still trying to land an agent, so who knew it was actually kind of hard to become an author. Disappointed but not discouraged, I got started on the next book. For some reason, the inspiration for that 2nd book came from an Avenged Sevenfold song named Welcome to the Family. One line where he says, "Your king has been dethroned," and that spawned an entire fantasy series for me. But yeah, I don't know. Weirdly enough, I've gotten a few of my book ideas from song lyrics. If it works, I guess. They're actually part of the same 4-part series. But book 2 is book 1, and book 3 is book 3. And I still haven't written book 2 and 4 of this 4-part series. Super confusing. Doesn't really matter. Both books are completely unedited still, both sitting at around 60,000 words, and even now, some of my favorite fight scenes that I've ever written are in these books. I think that if I actually go back and edit it, I'd probably add at least 20,000 words to each book and have to really chisel out the gunk around the diamond. But I do like the concepts. I like the individual concepts for each book, and I also like the 4-part overarching story. It's just actually writing it, editing it, and doing all that. And apparently, the more and more I look into other writers, it seems that most overwrite and then have to trim down. But for my routine, it seems to be the opposite. I actually underwrite, and then in the first edit round, add a significant amount of words, usually 20 to 40,000. Looking at these though, I think my skill considerably grew between the first book and then book 2/3. And a simple but massive improvement that I realized was actually using all 5 of our senses. In the first book, I seemed to only really use touch and hearing, but the inclusion of smell alone kind of changed the game for my descriptions in book 2 and 3, and have now, in my opinion, become a massive part of all my writings. Because I don't remember where I heard it, or I don't know if I just thought about it. It's a pretty, I think, common thought that like smells can bring you back to specific memories and kind of transport you more than any other sense. I might have just made that up, but it sounds cool. Queried those two, book 2 and 3, and having those same expectations, I thought, this is it for real now. My first book was just training ground. Now for realsies, I'm gonna be with Sanderson. And everything was gonna be hunky-dory. And as I think most people with a brain can foresee, that didn't happen at all. And again, my hopes were kind of crushed. Put out again around 100 queries and got nothing but 4 rejections. This time, I was so deluded into thinking, nah, these books had to be it. I reworked my query letter multiple times, changing the synopsis, basically everything. Because I was like, it must be the query, because it's not my work. And looking back, yeah, it was definitely my work. Now 3 novels in, I was feeling a little bit worn down, because in my head it was always, oh, if you write a book, you just write it good. And so everyone who's been published just wrote good books, basically. And now 3 books in, I was starting to think, oh shit, maybe I can't write good books. And to be honest, maybe I still can't. But I think I've gotten better at least. I was going down the Depresso Sanderson rabbit hole, trying to pull any advice for me to keep me going. And something he said came in clutch that kind of changed my view of everything. Essentially that the first 5 books that you write are just training, and that they're probably going to be garbage. And for some reason, that helped a lot. And with that newfound encouragement of that probably what I'm writing is trash and that's okay, I started book 4. And this is the first book with that new encouragement that I actually started without the need or expectation that it would be the one. Took a lot of pressure off my shoulders and kind of just let me just write. Still keeping my usual pace. Something happened around 40,000 words that kind of scared me a little bit. I consider myself more of a gardener writer, meaning one who doesn't plan much. I basically take a overall idea and then just start, and I sit down at the computer and start typing, and with each chapter, each line, I kind of just let it all come to me. And I never really hit a block before. But at this point, the story just wasn't working, and it was kind of freaking me out. I put weeks into this novel. This is book 4. Daddy Sanderson only said I had 5 books for training. So am I wasting the 4th one? No. And it was pretty quickly, doubts started to creep in that maybe I wasn't actually getting better. I was doing the opposite, getting worse. And the more I read through it, I was just wondering, like, why does this feel so bad? And even reading it now, the quality of the writing got better. Even the scenes I remember I liked, they're cool. The combat system was simple but interesting. I didn't understand why it just wasn't working though. And I think looking back now, it's because the beats of the story itself just don't work, and nothing feels natural. Weirdly enough, being the first novel that I used as little brute force feels the most brute forced. And I remember decently well talking to my brother about it and kind of upsettedly putting the book down. First time, and still the only time I've ever decided to shelve a book. I knew in my head that it wasn't wasted time, but still, that was 40,000 words that essentially went in the garbage. But after that loss, I kind of took like a week off, and I was like, alright, maybe I should rethink this a little bit. Let me wait till the next story idea comes to mind, and we'll go from there. This idea came to me while I was actually reading Genesis 1 for the first time. Not only that, but I also started writing this book around a month before moving out of my parents' house and across the country for the first time. And due to that nonsense going on, at the time, it was the longest it's ever taken me to write a book. It was around 4 months to complete draft 1, which sat around 60,000 words. And this is finally the book that I realized I needed to actually edit my book. And so after the first edit, draft 2 sat around 85,000 words. So that's around 25,000 words increased just with the first edit. And now months after that, I've done probably around 5 or 6 drafts, and it's lingering at around 87,000 words in total. And even after attempting and failing to query this book, I still believe that this could be the one for realsies though this time. I really love this book. I got 2 personalized rejections from agents, so there must have been some improvement here, or something must be working. This is the first time that I actually do love my work, and I guess 5th time's the charm. Still, I've not landed an agent, which is literally step 1 of doing the whole being published thing. Even in my quality of writing, having other people read it, their reactions to it felt more vibrant in a way that I think my writing previously didn't evoke. And I really do still believe that that book is special, and I hold that one really close to my heart. Book 6. This is the first novel that I've written while working full-time, 40 hours per week, and that shit was hard as hell. Now, this book is by far the longest it took to finish draft 1, taking around 5 or 6 months, ending at around 60,000 words flat. That seems to be my sweet number, and I only just started draft 2, having edited the first 4 chapters or so, and that's added around 5 or 6,000 words. So currently it's at around 65,000, but I think by the end of this edit, it'll be around 85 to 90,000 words. So far, I really like this book. I put a lot of my personal life experience into it, and I hadn't really done that too much previously. Book 5 was the first that I actively did that, where putting my own experiences and emotions into things that I think made those interactions work more, while also kind of helping me work through some stuff. I dove into that for book 6, making it extremely close to home. Book 5 and 6 are definitely my babies out of all my work, the ones that I hold close to home, but I really do thank God that he got me through this, because it was pretty hard to write this book, just in terms of life getting absurdly crazy. Currently, I'm 20 years old, and I have a personal goal to land an agent before I'm 21, but I only have 6 months left for that, so I'm not holding my breath too much. During writing these last 2 books, I've lived the most life I ever have. I moved across the country twice, alone, with just my brother and I. I feel like I've grown up alongside these books, and it kind of makes me sad the more I think about it. A good sad though, like reminiscing the old days with an old friend. Good or bad, writing these books feels like letting a piece of me go, but that piece will never fade. It just remains on the page. I can revisit that time period of my life whenever I want. I just have to open the book up. It's kind of like a picture, except it's an 80,000 word Google Doc. I know that's hella cringe and melodramatic, but I don't make the rules, man. It's funny how, looking back, I was the least influential part in starting me on this journey. Sensei gave me that first push on a bike ride in the woods, telling me, man, we always talk about how much we love stories. Why don't you just make your own? And then from there, it took years until I finished my first book, but it was my brother/roommate's idea that actually kickstarted that. Starting at 18 and now looking back at 20, I know it's only 2 years, but to scale of my life, that's a lot. I can't thank God enough for putting these people in my life and leading me to where I am now. I may not have an agent yet, but I truly believe I'm here to write. Even if I can't make a career of it, I'll definitely be disappointed, tired, broke, but I'll be fulfilled to all hell. And if I can make a career of it, that'd be pretty cool. Thanks for listening or watching. I guess we'll see where I am in a year or a couple years. P.S. I also wrote 2 short stories before book 5. If you want me to post them, let me know. Bye-bye.